Gambia Red Cross Society renews its commitment in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic amid the third wave. Tunisia's government has imposed restrictions due to the political unrest in the country. And the Gambia Chamber of Commerce has held its 2021 annual general meeting reflecting on trade activities in the country. With this and more coming your way on The World Today. This is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. Many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now the Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society has expressed preparedness of the humanitarian organization for the third wave of the coronavirus global pandemic. Alassane Senghor was speaking to Africa in the wake of a renewed public consciousness on the dangers posed by the virus in its new trends. The government has since last week announced the launching the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in addition of the revival of preventive measures. Here's more details of that in this report by Ndesise.
Although businesses have reopened and restrictions eased in the Gambia, the resurgence of the coronavirus cases in the third wave is a matter for public attention. The third wave of COVID-19 bears the fingerprints of the Delta variant, according to health officials, which has been identified in 19 countries across the world. Secretary General of the Gambia Red Cross Society, Alassane Senghor, said the situation has compelled the Gambian-based international organization to double up efforts in responding to COVID-19.
We have never stopped our operations since the beginning of the response since 2020. Early 2020, we continued. What we have done with the surge increase in the number of cases, what is being considered the third wave, we have scaled up our efforts. We scaled up our work in terms of the preventive measures, in terms of sensitizing the communities, and also helping communities to also take care of themselves in terms of use of face mask, sanitizing or washing hands, and also understanding the need for social distancing. So we've scaled up that work.
Right from the outbreak of the pandemic, the Red Cross has been in the forefront, battling back the spread of COVID-19. Its role in disinfecting public institutions, including schools, had paved the way for a safe back-to-school period across the country. Similarly, Red Cross volunteers had been responsible for execution of various services of patients who died of COVID-19. As Mr. Senghor explained, however, the barrier protocol from the World Health Organization has positioned the Red Cross to empower families who desire to do the burials of their loved ones by themselves.
The protocols for managing the death from COVID has changed. It changed actually late last year or mid last year when WHO changed the protocols from Red Cross actively doing the burial to disinfecting the bodies and then handing them over to the families to do the burial. Notwithstanding, in the event that families feel that they can't do it for obvious reasons, our teams will always do. So we have not been doing the burials. Mainly in some very rare cases where families want us to help, we will help.
Proper equipment and resources are highly needed to enable a proper and timely response on all COVID-related emergencies on the side of the Gambia Red Cross.
One of the challenges that we face and other institutions, including governments, have faced is the lack of resources to be able to respond adequately. But for us, and like I said earlier on, that's why we have been in communication with our parent body in Geneva, and to support and give more resources so that we are able to respond adequately to the needs of the response in Gambia.
The increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and deaths in the Gambia has overwhelmed both the Ministry of Health and the Red Cross Society, a situation for which Mr. Senghor urged for cooperation of all stakeholders, including the public. The Gambia has recorded an overall total of 7,333 COVID-19 cases, out of which 6,205 have recovered and 208 have died since the confirmation of the first case in March 2020. Across Africa, COVID-19 cases are surging by 20% on a weekly basis. The situation is quickly approaching numbers documented during the peak of the first wave in July 2020. The number of coronavirus cases and the resulting death toll, according to officials, will continue to rise in countries that are unable to suppress the virus and conduct comprehensive vaccination campaigns. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy Se.
And let's report on more COVID-19 news, but this time in Nigeria, where the impact of the global COVID-19 pandemic has taken toll on the social development of children in the country. Some of the coronavirus measures, such as wearing of face masks, are attributed to the default of child's communication in the West African country. Now, parents and school authorities are working together to improve children's speech learning in the country. Here's more details of that in this report.
It's Speech and Prize-Giving Day at the Care and Cuddles schools in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. Teachers and parents turn out to cheer their young ones, mastering the art of public speaking. Schools have been paying particular attention to rebuilding pupils' vocabulary, which was hampered by the COVID-19 lockdown and restrictions.
There are some words whereby you ask them as a teachers, you use for the children, but when they were asked to stay back at home, I noticed some of them came back and then they started behaving like a baby, like a 12-month-year-old, like a child that was able to use 3 words to name some things before, started like blabbing. They don't want to talk. They want you to ask them what was wrong, and they prefer to point at whatever they want instead of using their word.
The situation was worse for children in their formative years between 1 and 5, as they require consistency in their learning process. Parents say mask wearing also contributed to inhibiting their speaking.
So one of the issues I noticed was she wasn't doing so well in her phonics and alphabets generally. She's good with numbers, but because she missed out on the whole first term, yeah, she had difficulties in that aspect. When she wants to communicate to me, she shows me her head or her ears or say something. But I'll say, okay, Naya, you have to remove your mask and talk to mommy. Especially when we're out in the supermarket or something, because she feels maybe she can't talk through the mask.
The COVID-19 restrictions cut short social interactions like play dates, experiences which educators say are crucial for building vocabulary and may have far-reaching consequences.
The way children build their vocabulary is by talking with each other, amongst themselves, or adults. You know, they always have something to say. But then with the mask coming on, it seemed like you're saying no talking, you know. So that had an effect on their word bank, their vocabulary building skills. It's possible for this to have a long-lasting impact on the child. For instance, a child that used to be an extrovert might just turn around and become an introvert. That's if nothing is done about it.
Experts say kids would require the support of teachers and parents to be more expressive in order to close the gap in speech learning. They also recommend the inclusion of more school programs targeted at public speaking and oratory development.
The impact of the COVID-19 there affecting children speaking in Nigeria. Now moving on, It is 10 months since Gorkimbub was dismissed as commander of the anti-crime unit of the Gambia Police Force over police brutality. In addition to his demotion, the officer was sent out to the Greater Banjul areas following a dismissal recommendation by the National Human Rights Commission. The same commander of the armed unit of the police has been called back to the duty for which he was once criticized. Omar Ahmad Toure tells us more of that in this report.
In July 2020, anti-crime commander Gorjimbub was accused of hitting Ibrahim Sane with a hoe on the genitals. The boy, who was arrested with other young people, was subjected to forced labor at the anti-crime unit. The National Human Rights Commission recommended his dismissal and that he should be punished. It could be recalled that in 2019, when protesters who accused him of brutality burned his compound in Ibo Town, the incident was triggered by riots in Serekunda following the death of one Usman Dabo, allegedly under police custody. Gorjimbub was eventually removed as commander of the anti-crime unit of the Gambia Police Force and then transferred to the North Bank region amidst public pressure. Crimes in the Gambia has since the condemnation of police oppression in the way of the anti-crime noticeably been triggering public outcry. The level of insecurity compelled the police to introduce what it called Operation Zero Crime with a view to restore public trust and safety. The anti-crime unit established in April 2018 is mandated to combat crime and criminal activities in the country. Under Commander Gorjimbub, the unit won the Most Outstanding Crime Control Service Award in West Africa in 2018 at the Africa Security Watch. Gorjimbub tightens his belt with a counter-terrorism training in Egypt, Ivory Coast, Mali, and Israel. He served with the French Special Forces in the Kidal 23rd Squadron and won the Red Beret French Special Forces Award in 2016. Reporting for iAfrica TV, this is Omar Ahmadou Toure.
As Omar reporting there as Gorjimbub bounced back as the anti-crime commander. Now, the Tunisian government has introduced new measures to contain the political tension in the North African nation that led to the resignation of the prime minister. Clashes erupted in front of the parliament between supporters of the president and members of the major opposition party. The president has since held a meeting with some stakeholders over the unfolding situation. Let's have more details of that in this report.
The new restrictions come after clashes broke out on Monday in front of the Tunisian parliament where supporters of another party and others backing President Kais Saied gathered. These events follow Tunisian President Kais Saied's new presidential decree, under which he dismissed acting Interior Minister and Prime Minister Hisham Mishishi and National Defense Minister as well as Civil Service Minister and Acting Justice Minister. The country's dismissed Prime Minister has agreed to hand over power to the new Premier, who will also be appointed by the President. President Kais Saied held a meeting with the presidents of the General Labour Union, the Confederation of Industry, Trade and Handicrafts, and the National Bar Association, as well as the National Union of Tunisian Women and the Union of Agricultural Fisheries. These 5 national organizations represent millions of professionals in different sectors.
On this occasion, I'm speaking to you and to the Tunisian people. Everyone must stay calm, do not respond to provocation, and ignore all the declarations and rumors spread by some individuals. I don't want a drop of blood to be shed. There is law, and law will be applied to everyone.
The Tunisian president accused several members of parliament as well as some business and political lobbies of misusing power to serve their own interests.
There are thieves who are hiding behind legal texts which are drafted for themselves. Yet I opted for patience and respected official positions and made warnings until I ran out of patience. These people have treated the revolution and the unprecedented revolutionary movement in Tunisia as plunder.
The president's actions came after a day of protests against the government and the biggest party in parliament, the moderate Islamist Ennahda, following a spike in COVID-19 cases and growing anger over chronic political dysfunction and economic slump. The Tunisian public opinion remains divided. Many citizens have shown support for the presidential decrees, while other people have criticized Saied's recent moves.
Kais Saied should have made these decisions before. It's better late than never. The situation is chaotic because the former rulers failed after 10 years in power. We've been impoverished and starved, and our purchasing power is very low.
We're defending the legitimacy against a coup d'etat. Kais Saied's move is certainly a coup. Any wise person cannot accept it. We do not care about power and we are not afraid of anyone.
The Tunisian General Labour Union hailed the social and popular protests held across the country. The UGTT urged the president to respect the constitution and ensure the continuity of the democratic process in Tunisia.
Prime Minister Hisham Mishishi has officially resigned and declared that he will hand over power to the next premier, who will be appointed by the head of state. President Kais Saied said he will respect the rights and freedoms and the deadlines for the formation of a new government in the next few days.
You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on iAfrica TV. And from that report there in Tunisia, we would now take a break and come back shortly. Stay with us, there's more coming ahead.
The locations, the design, the materials used, all the way down to the latest details, are few of many things that we focused on when we envisioned the airport residency. As proud innovators of community estates, the airport residency in Old Yundum, a project by Swami India International, offers unique gated community with 3- and 4-bedroom villas and duplexes. Just 5 minutes away from the Banjul International Airport. Luxury, convenience, and accessibility are some of the reasons you should consider this great housing opportunity. With a clubhouse, a playground, access roads, and parking facilities available for your dream home or a valuable investment, you will find all you need at Airport Residency here in Old Yundum.
Welcome back. This is Africa TV, and once again, many thanks for joining us. Now, the Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry earlier on Tuesday held the 2021 annual general meeting on the country's trade sector at the Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara International Center. Members of different trading sectors brought together their thoughts on the Chamber's position in the growth of industries beyond the borders of the West African nation. Amin Dao has more details of that in this report.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, being a membership organization, is responsible for the stimulation of business development and promotion of trade in the country. One of its major engagements is the organization of the annual International Trade Fair as one of the leading business exhibition events in the sub-region for the promotion of businesses and interstate commercial transactions. The annual general meeting was meant to review achievements and challenges for the year under review and discuss with members the way forward on the country's trade matters. Hadin Jai, a member of the chamber, raised concern over what she recognized as a gap between the elderly and the young in GCCI-sponsored activities.
It's like you people, the ones you have started with are the only ones you know, that is the elder members. We, the youth, are the grassroots, are not normally included in some of your travels and meetings. The older ones should try and drag the youth to climb up because they are aging. If they do not show us the way, we will not know. I have observed that only certain people will be attending events and meetings outside the country. Sometimes I sit and ask myself, why am I part of this? You are paying our dues, but even at some of these events, you will just hear them, or we will just see them travel, which is not fair. This should be an open thing where all will be inclusive.
As the chamber is set up for all, people in other parts of the country feel exempted from a number of opportunities.
I'm representing the people of Combo South in the West Coast region. Us, like any other person, We should see ourselves in this. For me, I was brought up in Bakau, but I'm residing at Brusubi. But I do everything in Combo South. I want you people to have sympathy for us and see us as Gambians. If you look at the women in Combo South and other areas in the province, they are female citizens of this country. They should not be left behind. Either you are the president today because we voted for you to look after us. Please try and support women at the grassroots level. Don't forget about us because we are also part of this country. But here all we talk about is Serekunda and Banjul, and those are the people we see traveling. Try to turn your back on us. We also want to see ourselves as members of the chamber.
Hence, women are seen at the forefront of many businesses in the country. Kebanjai urged the chamber to be more supportive to them to keep the chamber strong.
The other thing I want to say is proliferation of chambers.
What I want to say right now is we have a low reformation of chambers, and Mr. President, if that happens, it's like the chamber has done a great job because it's like we want to include it in the line. If that happens, we can carry all the women on our back by bringing the Women's Chamber of Commerce and housing them all at the GCCI. We will also bring the Youth Chamber of Commerce and house them as well. There is nothing wrong in doing all that, even if we are going to charge them. Let's charge them a small amount as their contribution. But let's try and help them so that they can see themselves in the chamber.
The president of Gambia Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Idrissa Job, promised members of the chamber with additional networking events to ensure the flow of ideas after observing that the space provided for the AGM was limited.
A forum like this, then continue.
The importance of a forum like this is we should try and continue it because today people are exchanging ideas. We have seen mentors giving advice to the people. No matter the age difference, if the younger one is more experienced than you are in what both of you are doing, then he is your elder and your mentor. Listening to each other is education. Education is when someone has passed through routes to get to where he is. So I think I will promise you that we will start after this meeting for us to have more networking events. It will allow us to be telling each other the truth because telling each other the truth is very important. However difficult it is, we must be brave enough to face each other and speak the truth.
The meeting considered the financial report of the chamber for the period ending 31st December 2020 for adoption as well as the audit and activity reports. For iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
The Gambia Chamber of Commerce thereafter, of course, held in their 2021, of course, annual general meeting where members discuss about business activities in the country and, of course, the way forward as well. Now, the Senegambia Democracy and Governance Organization, in partnership with Red Crescent, empowered the needy in their 2021 Eid celebration. The presentation at a Sengo head office in Bakau put smiles on families that would have not afforded the cost of a ram or other remnants. Fatma Kasim reports.
Sengo is a charitable non-governmental organization registered in Maryland in the United States. The chief executive officer of the organization, Tuku Jallo, who presided over the presentation of animals to beneficiaries, acknowledged the support of the Red Crescent towards the initiative. She explains the rationale behind the intervention of her organization.
The fact that this is a very important Eid, when every family has to sacrifice a ram due to the history that we have with Prophet Ibrahim, with his son, and Jibril, as we all know about it, that Ibrahim was about to sacrifice his son. And he was rescued by a ram through Jibril to save the child. So in this case, when I thought about it, I'm like, let me just reach out to my donors, whom I have the belief and the trust that they will always do, because they're people who have the feelings of the poor and the needy in the United Arab Emirates. They call them the Red Crescent. whom I affiliated with, signed an agreement with them in order to be able to support the Gambian community, to be their lending hand in the Gambia. Since I'm their affiliated, I'm co-founder, we work in hand for them to be provided finances to help out. Due to the fact that Gambians, we are a poor country. We depend on a $1 a day meal survival like breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And looking at the situation of the country is very horrifying, very terrible, very sad. So I have that empathy and sympathy to see that my people will not go hungry.
As Tuku explains, the Eid was a moment to share with and care for families that are less able to provide for their children. The gesture to earn the shared blessings from such a kind gesture is among the compelling factors making Sengo to put her feet in the souls of the poorer population. In feast like Eid al-Adha, sharing among Muslim brothers and sisters is very rewarding, as sounded by Mrs. Jallo.
At least whatever it may take and whatever we may have, we can always share with our brothers and sisters, uncle, niece, and nephews, as we have the celebration here in the back of my office. So in this case, I tried to ask them to provide us with rams and bulls, which they did provide it. Definitely they help out. And we are thanking them from the Senegambia Democracy and Governance that they have provided this since last year. They started it last year with 8 bulls. Then I managed to make it up to 10 bulls. But this year is overwhelming. We have bulls, more than bulls, gobras, with ships, a lot of ships that you saw the vehicle coming down with the ships and the bulls. At least I was very happy. And I feel that my Gambian brothers and sisters, uncle, niece, and nephews who couldn't afford it were able to do so to enjoy themselves with their kids.
Boubacar Jete is one of the beneficiaries of the gesture, and this is what he had to say.
Not everybody can able to afford rams, but if we have a Muslim Ummah who create some ram for poor people, definitely is appreciated. We all thank for the donors and those who are intermediating and those who are helping and together to make this gathering successful.
The International Red Cross and Red Crescent Movement, who partnered with the Senegambia Democracy and Governance Organization in this project, is the largest humanitarian network in the world. Its mission is to elevate human suffering, protect life and health, and uphold human dignity, especially during armed conflicts and other emergencies. For iAfrica News, Binta Jallo.
Binta Jallo reporting there instead of Fatmat Kasim, as I earlier on mentioned on Sengo's gesture during the Eid al-Adha celebrations in the Gambia. Finally, the newly adopted digital financial transactions is gaining momentum in Uganda thanks to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The fast-growing digital payment also offers safer financial dealings for consumers in the market while opening a space for more financial inclusion. Here's more details of that in this report.
Money transfers, bill payments, and even basic transactions, all now done with just a click. Digital payment in Uganda is booming. According to experts, it's the growth of local financial technology, also known as fintech, that is spurring the changes across the local financial ecosystem.
It wasn't uncommon to see bank queues running through from the banking halls down the street as people are waiting to pay for their school fees. All of that has now been digitized. Pay taxes. People are using mobile wallets to pay taxes or straight from their bank accounts. So the digitization of some of these services, which by the way was largely a fruit of the innovation of fintechs, has done a lot to enhance financial sector.
There are now over 180 registered fintech firms in Uganda offering technology-based finance solutions. The fintech revolution is flourishing because of the country's mobile phone penetration of over 28 million mobile connections. That trend has facilitated an increase in partnerships across different sectors.
They are enhancers for other sectors. They are value additions, because without the telecom, some fintechs cannot exist. Without the banking sector, some fintechs may not exist. Without the education, because some fintechs are building solutions for the education sector.
Many businesses and consumers are already taking advantage of the ability to use digital methods to buy and sell. The COVID-19 crisis has created opportunities to further expand the role of fintech through extending financial services to vulnerable groups. And while these technologies have allowed more money to move around, there are concerns about how safe one's money can be. That has called for proper regulation. Last year, Uganda approved the National Payment Systems Act, a regulatory framework on which firms can operate.
One of the things that law looks at is consumer protection, making sure consumers are protected, or if they're cheated, where do they go for redress? What reserves does a company have in case the entire company collapses? Where do people go for their money? Because, they have it on their phone, they don't really know where it is.
With the frantic pace of innovation in the fintech sector, the financial solutions are likely to pick up even more speed. Experts say that will provide high growth potential and opportunities for investment while also addressing the need for financial inclusion.
And from that report there in Kampala, Uganda, we finally bring this news edition to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, as always, as ever, you can log on our website, onafrica.tv. There will be more news at 19:30 GMT or 7:30 local time. You can join us then if you can. But for now, many thanks for the privilege of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.